There are several things which are very important over here. I do not side with either side. I do think that all three of them, the Western-led alliance, Ukraine and Russia, all of them are responsible for the outbreak of the war. It's not that one person is the good guy, the other person is the bad guy. I think all three of them have done something which are responsible for the outbreak of the war. For the Western alliance, for example, because of expansion of NATO all the way to the backyard of Russia, and that threatened the national security of Russia. Ukraine is trying to side with, trying to join NATO and the EU. I think that for a country like that, which is sandwiched between two major power blocks, they should be neutral. You should be nice to both so that you can take advantage of the benefits from both. Instead of if you side with one side against the other side will attack you. If you go to this side, the other side, then you will be dominated by the other side. So either way that they go, that's a very bad choice. But I think that it's much better off for them to be neutral. But now the war has broken out. What are the consequences, as you ask, especially in Africa? There are two or three things which I think are very important, and that has major, very serious international implications. Number one is about trade. The Western-led alliance is imposing massive sanctions on Russia in order to hurt Russia. It has consequences because now, if you do not trade with Russia or force other people not to trade with Russia, because the Western-led alliance is also pressuring the rest of the world not to trade with Russia too. It's not like the Western powers do not want to trade with them. They also pressuring other countries. If you trade with them, we will put sanctions on you too. So they are trying to drag the rest of the world into a polarization of the international trading system. I think that that is very negative in the longer term. Look at the prices. The natural resources, now the prices are going up. That means that in terms of the economic impact, you have inflation. You see that the prices will go up, especially in Europe, because they depend on Russia. And also in the US too, but much less in some other countries which depend on all those resources. You will see the prices are going to go up. Food prices. Some countries like Egypt and some of the African countries, they import, let's say, corn, wheat from Ukraine, from Russia and all that. They will also suffer too because the prices are going to go up. And the international trading system now is broken down. Instead of trading with each other to benefit from trading, now the Western-led alliance is trying to encourage people to divide the world into two different camps. That is very bad internationally. That's number one. Number two, the financial system. The Western-led alliance is also trying to impose, to kick Russia out of the SWIFT system, the international payment system, and try to freeze or confiscate the currency, the reserve currency that Russia has in the foreign banks, let's say in the Western-led alliance countries. Now that is also have a major international consequence because number one, it may hurt Russia, but in the end it also hurt the Western world because now if you do that, what is going to happen now? Look, Russia now is insisting that they do not want to import and export by using American dollars. They try to use rubles or some other currency. Russia, by the way, is negotiating with China. China, from now on, they trade with each other using yuan and also ruble too. Saudi Arabia and China now are negotiating. Maybe they try to trade with each other in a different currency. Why? Because if you use American dollars, they can take your money. In case you do something which they disagree, they will put sanctions on you too. So in fact, the US has already made some remarks about that. Next time, if China threatens Taiwan or it decide to invade Taiwan, all those assets and currency that China has in the US can be frozen. And we are talking about a lot of money over here, and China now is thinking very hard. They have been doing that for quite some time already, but this crisis is really dragging other countries. I think that that is a hard choice. Number one, for those countries, the consequence is that it's time to look for alternative international currency for trading, because now it becomes more and more clear the US dollar is not reliable, because the US has weaponized American dollar. They use it as a weapon. So for many of those countries now, that is become a red flag. It's not because they don't know about it. People have known about this for quite some time. It's that the crisis has really polarized the world in such a way that the US now and the Western-led alliance is weaponizing everything, even sports. Even sports, now they do not allow the Russian athletes to go to Wimbledon for the championship unless they condemn the invasion. So now they weaponize everything. Now people are getting very nervous about it. So it's not safe anymore to use American dollars. It's not safe. So that's why I just mentioned to you all this kind of that's what they are going to do. And I do think that not only that, they are going to search for alternative international payment system. Russia is already doing that. China is already doing that. And I think that some of those countries, in your case, Africa, sooner or later, you are going to do that too, because you will be next.
All right, so Mali's situation, Mali's attitude on France.
There's also a complicated question. Again, I don't take side with France or Mali. I'm an external observer as a thinker, as a visionary. And I do think that I have been in Africa for quite some time now, several years, 5 or 6 years now. I've been in more than probably 30 different African countries. And I can see a lot of resentment against the French colonial, I should say post-colonial legacy, because the French is still dominating Western Africa in many major ways. And Mali, in a way, is trying to stand up. And that's why Mali does not have a good media reception in France, because Mali want to stand up and trying to get rid of the French post-colonial domination. Of course, France does not like it. And I think that the problem with the war going on, France is trying to support all those kind of governments in the region to get rid of all this kind of militancy, which is threatening the national security of Western Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa. But I think that the problem is that France has failed so far, not because they don't have the military power. They have. The problem is that the militants now are engaged in an asymmetric warfare against France. So when you go and bomb them in one area, they flee to another area. And you keep tracing it, like run and chase this kind of warfare. But the major roots of the problem are not there, and France is not doing anything to resolve them. I'm talking about economic problem, social problem, political problems. Those are the key problems which are causing all this kind of conflicts in Western Africa. And that's why you have the coup d'etat. You have some of the authoritarian regime. I'm talking about, let's say, Mali, Guinea-Bissau, Burkina Faso, and all that. And now you have Sudan and many other places too. France is not doing anything because France is treating the region as a post-colonial destination for their own domination and control. So France is not doing that for your own benefit. France has their own interest to perpetuate that domination. On the other hand, many of the authoritarian governments, they are also doing that for their own pursuit of power too. So it's not that I side with either one. I think that both of them are a problem. But I'm just saying that what France is doing is not helping. It's making the problem even worse. Now the problem in that region is not about Mali anymore. Now it is subcontinental problem. So the roots of the problem are still there. And France is not doing anything to solve any of those social problems, economic problems, and political problems. France only focus on military power to get rid of those militancy, but that is not resolving the problem. It has failed so far, and that's why you have Mali, which is coming up and defy that status quo, because Mali now has the support of Russia too, by the way. So they need some kind of alternative to balance different powers. You understand me? When you it's the same thing about Ukraine. The situation in Mali in some way is comparable to the situation in Ukraine. Ukraine is confronted with two dominant blocs, the Western-led alliance and the Russian one. If you fight against this one, then you welcome this one, but this one will dominate you too. But if you get rid of this one and go to the other one will dominate too. That's the why I'm proposing that when you're weak and small, don't fight with the giants, you lose.
Okay.
Try to be nice to both and maximize your benefit to be nice to both. Just like Switzerland. For example, Switzerland did not side with Hitler, also did not side with the Western allies. They're trying to be nice to both. So they can do business with everyone. They don't put their finger against anyone. So I think that's exactly what Ukraine should have done. But they are learning. Now they are negotiating with Russia and say, okay, we don't join NATO. Now we are going to demilitarize all this army. But you should have done that a long time ago before the war. Now you wait until they invade you. Now you say, oh, okay, fine, we negotiate now. Okay, we are going to be a nice guy. We are not going to join NATO. But you should have done this long time ago. Why do you wait until now? They bomb the hell out of you. Look at this is the blunder by Ukraine too. So I think that all of them are responsible. I don't think that Mali is the only one. I have been in many Western African countries. I have been in many African countries by now. Almost everywhere, I see the same resentment. They really want France to leave. But France has that kind of domination that it's difficult for the local politician to speak out because many of them could be eliminated. Well, it's life. I'm not saying that it's a nice thing, but I'm just trying to answer your question, what should be done? I'm saying that, look, if you have someone trying to dominate you, look at the choices that you have. Either you will say, thank you to dominate me, I like it, I love it, welcome. Or you're going to say, no, I don't like it, get out. But then you're weak. They are powerful. Or the third solution is trying to balance them out. Okay, I cannot get rid of you, but I will ask someone else to come in to balance out. This is exactly what's happening in Mali. Now they are inviting Russia to come in. By the way, just in case you do not know, in the Pacific Islands, Solomon Islands, do you know that? Now it's inviting the Chinese to come in. They just signed a security pact, but they also have Australia. They also signed the security pact with Australia too. And they are trying to be friendly with the US too. Why do they do that? Because they don't want to be dominated by one group. They try to be nice to all, so that if you try to bully me, I will ask the other one because I also have a security pact. If Australia come and bully me, the US come and bully me, now I have China. Or if China is going to bully me, now I have the US and Australia. You balance out. That's exactly what Mali is doing in a way. Mali said that, okay, we don't want all this kind of military bases, we don't want this kind of domination, we want Russia in. So if you are bad to us, we ask Russia to help. But then if Russia is bad to us, we come back to you. You understand me? They are balancing. That's what a weak country should do, but the danger, however, is that if they go too far, they will make France very angry. And then France can come in and do more military violence against you, just as Russia has done to Ukraine. So that's also a danger that you play, but be careful whom you are playing with. If you look at the history of Western Africa, time and again, this is not the first time you have a country like Mali to do that. Quite a number of countries have defied France, but they were eliminated in the end. They assassinate you, they will overthrow your government, they will come in and doing this and this, they will support the opposition, and then you are gone. So you have to play. That's why I said international politics can be very brutal. You want to fight, fine. You have to fight in a very smart way. But if you fight with your emotion, you lose because they have more power than you do. They can come in, they can overthrow you, they can bomb the hell out of you, they can assassinate. Because if you overdo it, you overstretch it, they will get rid of you. There's nothing you can do. Look at Libya. Libya tried to defy Western powers for quite some time. Look at Iraq, Saddam Hussein. He tried to defy the U.S. Too in some ways. What's the name of that guy? Noriega in Panama. He tried to defy the U.S. So, and then he was get rid of. So, so when you fight in a smart way, because it's power. You go too far, they come in, they will cut you off.
All right.
I visited some schools in Africa before, not just in Western Africa, and I noticed that when I read the textbooks that children here read, what did they teach you? If you read at the textbook, many of those textbooks are published in France, are manufactured by French companies, or they sponsor all this kind of publication. Read those books. What are they teaching your children? Your children learn more about European history than they know about your African heritage. This is the same problem in America about Black Americans. They go to school, they learn more about Western civilization than they know anything about African history. In fact, having been in Africa for some years now, I know more about Black people than the Black people in America know about themselves. If you ask Black people in America about their heritage, they don't know much of anything. They cannot even speak any of the languages. The only language that they learn is English. Mm-hmm. And the food that they eat is American food. And many of the things that they do, they don't know anything. And when they go to Africa, they think that they are American, they look down on the Africans. You see that now? That's a colonial mindset now.
So how do we get...
Many of those children, when they finish school, they look up toward the outside power as the superior one. And they are the inferior one. Because that's how they teach you. You are inferior, you are backward. So every time when they do something, they look up to Paris or any the major powers to copy everything. How can you develop? There's the post-colonial system to control you, to dominate you. And you continue to behave like that, to welcome that, and your children continue to think like that. Every time here in Africa, when they have a problem, the solution that they seek are always a solution copied from the West. But how can you progress if you always like this? You are perpetuating the same system. It's not colonial anymore, but it's post-colonial, neo-colonial. You should get rid of that. How do you do that? I think that each country has a different condition to do, and certainly some of the things that you should do is that you should get rid of all those textbooks.
Okay.
There are many things that you need to do. Okay, and the second thing, which is not about the colonial one, which is that education is not valued in Africa as they are valued, let's say, in China, in Japan. Education for thousands of years in China has received such a kind of veneration in China. Everyone look up to education as like God. In Africa, education is not God. Football is God. Football is God in Africa. Look at how much time they spend here watching football. Children play football on the street.
And how much money?
And how much money they have spent on that too. Even if they have a ball, they use a bottle of water, use something. And you go to bars, restaurants, cafe, everywhere you go, stores. Every time you have a TV on, what is on the screen? It's always football games. And how much time and energy that they spend on watching football. But why do you spend all this time learning mathematics, physics, chemistry, engineering? Do you care about that? They don't care. But in China, in Japan, some children, when they fail examination, some of them kill themselves. Do you know that? Yeah. Because it's so serious. education for them is very important. It's like something which is honorable, something which is good. In those countries, to be honorable, to be good for children, you have to be good in school, in class.